Hey there, today we're going to talk about how do you know if your flanges fit correctly. This is a very popular question right now, and I'm going to give you the answers to that. So stay with me. If we haven't met before, I'm LuAnn Marlow. I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner and a lactation consultant, and I help parents answer questions that help make motherhood easier. Let's answer that question about how do you know if your flanges are fitting you correctly. So these are your flanges. Just two of them. There are multiple different types of flanges, and let's talk about how you know if they fit. So let's look at the flanges for a second. These are just two. These are two different sizes. So first of all, we're going to look at what part of that helps you to know that. So if you can look at these, typically what people look at are this part right here, which is actually what we call like the shield, or I call this part the funnel part because it looks like a funnel. These are two different sizes, and if you look really closely here, you can see that this tunnel part, the part where your breast would go in, are quite different in size. This is a 24, which would be the typical size that comes with most people's breast pump, and this is a 17, and you can see there's quite a bit of difference in the size there. But the most important part is when you look at the size of this tunnel from the side, you can see how different that is. And that I think is pretty dramatic. Why is that important? So when you fit your flange to your breast, you can see where your nipple would be pulling in there. And there are three things that help you decide if your breast flange is fitting you correctly. The first one is the fit. The second one is the feel, and the third one is the function. And let's talk about that. So the fit of your flange has nothing to do with the size of your breast. It doesn't have anything to do with the size of your areola. It does have to do with the size of your nipple. It does have to do with the measurement of your nipple, but the measurement of your nipple is a starting point. It is not the finish line. And this is where a lot of misconceptions come into play right now. There are a lot of myths about flange fitting, which I have to say I'm happy that people are talking about flange fitting, because this was not even on the radar for a lot of people for a very long time. You pretty much opened up your breast pump box, took the flange out, hooked it up, and that was the size that you used, which is where a lot of people had problems with their pumping. So at least we're talking about this. It's a start. But everybody seems to be talking about flange fitting, and a lot of people have a lot of bad information about flange fitting. So one of the bad information about flange fitting that you're hearing is just measure your nipple and then add 2 to 5 millimeters and use that size. And I'm going to tell you that that's wrong. So the measurement is a starting point. It is not your finish line. So you're going to use some fitting information as a starting point. And what do we want that fit to be like? We want your nipple to move freely in the tunnel. We do not want your whole breast and your whole areola moving into your tunnel, which means that you do not have a good fit. And so the fit of that is very important. We don't want your entire nipple pulling into the tunnel and hitting the back of your flange. So there's a lot of information about the fit that is important. Secondly, the feel is important. Now, when you're pumping, you may not really have noticed how much of the fit is important there, but you certainly have noticed the feel. So this is where a lot of pumping parents are bringing their concerns to the attention of like a lactation consultant, because they're feeling pain, they're having difficulties with cracked nipples, blistering, bruising, a lot of trauma to the breast. So if your fit is not a good fit, then that may lead to the second thing, which is feel. So you may have a very uncomfortable breast pumping experience because of pain. Because if that fit is not good, then you're having some trauma and discomfort because of that. And then the next thing would be function. So if your breast pump is working well and your flanges are fitting well, then you should have a good output of milk. or the best output of milk that you could get. So you may have other reasons why you don't have good output. You may have low milk supply for other reasons, but if your flanges are fitting well, you should get the most milk possible for you. And so if you have poorly fitting flanges, you can't get the milk out that you should be able to get. And that may be because you're not getting a good fit. You may have to do some things to work around that. So you may be pushing the vacuum up on your pump really high in order to be like trying to get that milk out. Or the opposite may be, you may be having so much pain that you can't even turn up the vacuum even just a little bit. And so because of that, you may not be able to get enough milk. So the function is very important there. You may not be getting enough milk, or you may be getting enough milk, but it takes you like an hour of pumping to get that. So that's not very efficient. So your function could be not enough milk, or you're getting enough milk, but it takes you too long to get that milk. So your fit is important, your feel or comfort is important, and your milk output is important. So if you're having difficulty in any one of those areas, you may not have an appropriate fitting flange. So what should you do about that? Well, in that situation, you need to be talking to a lactation consultant who has experience in fitting flanges so that they can actually help you appropriately fit your flange, not just give you a measurement and tell you to go get that flange, but help you to decide what is the appropriate flange based on some other information other than just a number. Now, I have a quiz that will help you decide if maybe you need to do some flange fitting. So it gives you some things to look at to decide, hey, are my flanges fitting well or not? That quiz is down in the description. Check that out. That's a good starting point for you. And if maybe you need some help with flange fitting, I actually have a do-it-yourself flange fitting training that you might want to check out, which helps you to know how to fit your own flanges. Or you could work with a lactation consultant to help to get some flange fitting. And let me tell you, if you go from poorly fitting flanges to great fitting flanges, it makes a world of difference. I say that's life-changing because it is. I work with so many moms who go from pain to, oh wow, that's awesome, immediately. This is a fix that is like an immediate fix, and there are not a lot of things in life that get fixed immediately. Flange fitting is one of those. So it's worth checking out. Check out that quiz and let me know what you think about that.